All right. Welcome to the first bonus podcast of the Books, Beards, Booze podcast. The origin of this comes from on our weekly podcast, we always do a news segment. And I stumbled upon an article that I thought I was going to do as the news for that week, in which I think it was Entertainment Weekly asked Chelsea Clinton about her taste in books. And I pretty quickly realized that I didn't feel like we needed to go in a political direction. In this day and age, let's not talk politics. I know his politics, he knows mine. Y'all don't need to know him. This is not the place for that.
Nope.
And so, I will say this. Don't know a lot about Chelsea Clinton. I was pretty impressed with her answers.
Surprisingly. I know enough about her to be impressed.
My thing is, I want to know, was she giving those answers on the fly, or did she have
know that these were coming?
Did she know that they were coming? That's what I would want to know.
If we were going in a political direction, I would make the joke of course they told her what the questions were going to be.
Savage. No, if it was on the fly, super impressed. If it was thought out, less impressed.
Even
still good. Yeah, that was the most surprising thing.
That's why I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, it was what the question was, what book might people be surprised to learn that you love? And she said the Belgariad and the other one Mallorean. Yeah, he wrote more, but I've read all those and they get super repetitive, but they're really good.
So you'll read those that are repetitive, but not the Raymond Feist.
Very formulaic.
How dare you?
Yes. But she was basically like, I read those in 6th grade and they were great. And it's like, okay, cool, I respect that. Anyway, so we went through, and there was a couple questions that just don't apply to us. Like, what books do you read to your children? Like, we don't have kids, so that's not super relevant. So we went through.
But if we had that question, I would have answered with the children's, not really children, the picture book that Patrick Rothfuss wrote.
Okay.
But there's a sequel to that. Did you know?
I did not. I did not know that he wrote a picture book.
Oh, well, I know what we're doing when this is over before you go home.
Fair. All right, so we went through, and I can't remember. I think there's 3 questions that we just eliminated. Mm-hmm. But we were looking at these, and we thought this would be a great way for you to get to know our tastes, like where we're coming from as readers.
Because we think it's important for you to know that Bob's wrong and I'm right.
Incorrect. But moving forward, so we're calling this the Clinton questions.
Dun dun dun.
All right. So the first question, and we'll take turns. I'll go first on this question. You go first on the next, and we'll alternate. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, what was your favorite book as a child? And we talked about this, and what we decided was we wanted to answer this as a 2-part question. One is, what was your favorite book as a child? What was your favorite book as a teen?
Because they're very different, especially from me.
Oh, yeah. So, when it comes to what was your favorite book as a child, I couldn't answer any one book, but there's 2 series that, and basically every one of these, nothing has one answer except for like 2 questions. But the Goosebumps series, I was big on Goosebumps. Really? And I think that's a large degree
why you like your horror?
Why I like horror, but apparently, according to my stepmom, I've always liked horror. When I was really little, like 4, I would ask her to tell me scary stories. Like I always wanted scary stories. The other is, you probably have never heard of this, but it's the Famous 5 series by Enid Blyton, which I'm pretty shit at names, and when I was thinking of this list, I was amazed I remembered her name. But the Famous 5 series...
You must have really liked it then.
It's a British series that was kind of like Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew, but it was a cousin, it was a girl and a tomboy girl and her dog and her 3 cousins. Every time they went on a holiday, they would get into some adventure.
Some shenanigans.
Yeah, like Hardy Boys-esque type adventure.
Boxcar. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were great. I loved them. My dad bought them for me, and I absolutely loved them. That's what my favorite as a kid. As a teen, as an early teen, I really got into the Redwall series by Brian Jacques.
Yeah.
and that stayed. I've read all of them at this point, I think.
I've never read any of them.
He's dead now. Brian
Did not
Johnson
even know.
And I think that's partly where I get my love of sieges.
There's sieges in that?
There are. The first book, it's not chronological, but the first book he wrote was Redwall, and there is a siege, a great siege in that. The Redwall series, and the other is as a middle-aged teen, like I would say 14 or so, I got into the Black Company. That's when I found the Black Company, and I remember by the time I got to the high school that we were at, which we know each other from high school. Yeah, we know each other from high school. We didn't know we were aware of each other in high school. He's a little younger than me. But I was all in on the Black Company by the time I got to that high school in 10th grade. Mm-hmm. And I had not read all of them at that point, but I was all in on it.
That's when you started dealing them to Bane, right?
Yeah, that's why I started giving them to a mutual friend of ours. And and to this day, still my favorite. It's my favorite series. And it's gone a long way to influence a lot of my writing.
Yeah, so it's to blame for why he doesn't like characterization.
Yeah.
That's a recurring joke.
Recurring joke, yeah. So what was your answer?
My answer is, and this was interesting because growing up, I didn't like reading. Mm-hmm. When I was really young, all I did was play sports. Like, that's all I did. Yeah. Like literally from the time I was awake until I went to sleep.
Russell Westbrook needs the MVP.
It's funny that you would say that because you're referencing a basketball player, and what I read as a child was only sports biographies, and they were almost universally basketball players.
Like MJ, Scottie Pippen.
Michael Jordan, Grant Hill, because this was back when Grant Hill, before he injured himself.
I prefer his cousin, Cypress.
I'm going to smack you. Just for that, we're watching Grant Hill highlights.
Insane to the membrane.
And then Shaquille O'Neal. I did a Shaquille O'Neal, which was what I was.
Charles Barkley?
LSU.
Oh, I love LSU.
I don't know that they had one of Charles Barkley. The only ones I remember were those ones that I just mentioned.
Auburn boy.
And then
which is really just Georgia.
And then the only one that wasn't a basketball one that I remember was Chipper Jones.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to give a quick shout out right now to Pepper Goins. The reason I pulled the trigger on doing this podcast is my friend Pepper. He recently started doing a podcast, and him and a buddy of his, they're doing the Rushmore podcast. You can follow them on Twitter, the Rushmore Pod on Twitter. They're great. They basically they pick their 4 favorite of whatever topic it is that week. Comes out on Fridays as well, like ours. But he's a huge Chipper Jones fan.
It's because he's correct.
I don't give a flying fuck about
you're wrong.
MLB baseball.
It's the Braves,
but the Braves. No,
90s Braves?
Yeah, 90s Braves. I am a Braves fan.
I would sacrifice you on the altar if we had gotten another championship.
I couldn't even be mad at that.
Yeah. We deserved it with that pitching roster.
Anyways. We had the best pitcher. Neither here nor there.
But that was what I read as a child. Like that was the gateway to reading at all, because my mom was just desperate to make sure that I didn't become illiterate, which was really weird because my brother, who at the time was kind of like my best friend at that point, all he did was read fantasy books. Yeah. And I wanted to read them. But your brother
is, he's 2 years older than me, and I'm 3 years older than you.
He's 3.5 years older than me. He was born in 84 or 83 and change, and I'm 87.
It's just how the...
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But he read...
Nothing but fantasy.
And
when I met him, that's all he read.
One of the most influential things is he read the Shannara series. And that's what made me want to read fantasy, is because he sat up one night when we were at my grandma's house. I still remember this. Yeah. Telling me the story of the first Shannara book. Because I kept bugging him, asking him what he was reading. And he told me, I was like, this sounds like the best thing ever. So then,
spoiler, it's not, but...
Well, at the time, it was pretty original, because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
But
I think if I remember...
It's still pretty good.
I think if I remember correctly, that guy got, like, the biggest deal, like, for a first-time author of genre fiction, like, ever. Like, they gave him, like, $100,000 advance. Yeah. Or something like that. It's stupid, but
so that's what made me want to... And then I tried a couple of things, and
So as a teen, what did you read?
A teen. This was the transition to teen. I read like a couple things like Spell for Chameleon, and I liked
the
it.
Xanth novel. I completely forgot about those.
I liked those that, a lot. But it didn't hook me. That's not what got me. And what got me was Magician.
Okay.
The Raymond E. Feist books. Yeah. That's why I like him so much, is because I finally read Magician Apprentice.
I hate that I forgot the Xanth novels.
About 7th grade, maybe?
Yeah.
And I read The Magician, and then it was like right at the end of the year. And then when I came back for 8th grade, I had read 10 of them.
Okay.
So, like, all I did was read all summer. Yeah. And I read 10 of them, and it was
not a bad
amazing.
Way to spend a summer.
And I was hooked from there moving forward.
Okay.
Like, that was my jam.
All right. I'm with it. I'm with it.
So the next question, is, which I'll be answering first.
Yeah.
What books do you read over and over again?
I went hard in the paint on this one.
I am considerate and tried to answer the question one, but I mean I didn't because there's too many. Look, one of the things that me and Bob fight about, or I don't know if we fight so much, but Bob noticed and reprimands me for, is that I read the same books over and over again a lot.
Which I do as well, but I
just read so much slower.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with reading a book over again.
I read deep as hell.
But my thing is, like, there's so many books out there.
Yeah, so. Which is the thing I'm coming to realize now. And it's like, man, I gotta step it up. But the things that I read over and over again, the quintessential at this point is the
King Killer.
King Killer.
Yeah, of course.
Patrick Rothfuss, King Killer Chronicles, and the reason is this is the reason that he is a god among men, is because he has come out and specifically said that he wrote it so that you could read it once, appreciate and enjoy the story, and move on. Or you could reread it endlessly and you would always find something new. I have a degree in literature. I close read everything. I have reread those books 6 or 7 times so far.
You're
maybe
still
more.
finding stuff.
Every single time without fail. Not even just one thing. Multiple things. So it was the thing made for me. The only other thing other than that is The Wheel of Time, which was super influential to me.
I honestly think if you were to have read that, if you were to start reading Wheel of Time now, I honestly don't think you would be rereading it. I think part of the reason why you like it so much is because it was so influential to you early on. Which I wonder about myself with the Black Company. Like, I know that I would still love the Black Company, but I don't know that I would.
I don't entirely agree, mostly because the writing style that he uses is the kind of style that I enjoy the most.
Okay, that's fair.
Which is
you do care about that more than I do.
Which is the point that I was going for in here is the books that I reread are the books of authors is the craft. The people that I think, not just the story. It's not about the story. It's the people who write in a way that I find amazing and I want to immerse myself in so that hopefully it will rub off on me.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
So
that's
it's
fair.
Robert Jordan, Patrick Rothfuss, Raymond E. Feist. Surprisingly, now that I'm going back and reading it again, it's a lot better written than I remember.
My problem with it was never his writing. It's how formulaic.
Yeah. But that's my answer to that.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about any of these at length because there are so many of them.
Oh, Bob, you're the worst.
Grunts by Mary Gentle.
When was the last time you read that, though?
Within the past 2 years. I reread that book at least every 2 years. No, I've read that book probably 10 times now. I love that book. Well,
that just means I have to reread Name of the Wind 4 more times before I read anything else. Sorry.
The Black Company series. To be fair, I've reread the Books of the North 5 or 6 times. Books of the South, not as much. Dune, I've probably read the first book of that series 6 or 7 times. The second book twice, and the rest of them once. Swords Point, Talia and Revenant, James Herriot's Dog Stories.
You've read Sword Point that many times?
I've read Swords Point at least 4 times.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love that.
I knew you'd read it at least twice.
It's a quick read, though. It's a quick read. Okay. Talia and Revenant, I think I've read 3 times. James Herriot Dog Stories, I've read at least 3 times. The Redwall series, I've read, I think at this point I've read every book once, and there are a couple of them that I've read multiple times. Salamandastron and Redwall and Mossflower being the main ones.
Sure.
Madame Mayo. I think I read it 3 times. Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. The Thief of Always. The Black Jewels series.
I feel like I should read those.
You really should. Our friend Lindsay hates you because you haven't.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I don't think she knows that you haven't.
No, she does, but then I gave her Patrick Rothfuss, so we're even.
Jurassic Park.
Really?
Oh, God. I could read that book forever.
Did you read Neanderthal?
Yeah. I think I got that from you.
I think you did too.
Yeah, I've read
Anyways,
it.
continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And last, I'm just going to say David Gemmell in general. I can read any of his Drenai books over and over and over. I've read Legend at least.
You know that conflicted thing that we did? I kind of wish that I had mentioned that.
Legend? Conflicted on Legend?
No, not...
or just David Gemmell.
David Gemmell, because he did the thing. I don't remember what they're called, but like the group of monks, the warrior monks.
The 30.
Might be the coolest thing I've ever read.
Yeah, the 30.
And I just don't feel like
he did it well. Okay.
Not that he didn't do it well. Didn't do it well enough.
As well enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to deep dive into any of those. Every one of those, I have read at least one book in that series at least 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah. Love them. All right, so the next question is there a book people might be surprised to learn you love? This one's kind of hard for me. Ended up picking James Herriot's Dog Stories.
See, I don't know what that is.
James Herriot was a British
I recognize the name, but...
He was a vet in Britain, in, I think, Cornwall, in the, 40s, 50s, 60s, yada, yada, yada. And he wrote a series of books that was basically collections of, his veterinary experiences that are...
that sounds really sad.
That are partially autobiographical, but slightly fictionalized a little bit.
So can they live every time? So is that the fictional?
Most of the times. Okay. They were there's 4 main books: All Creatures Great and Small, All Things Wise and Wonderful. It's the old poem
I don't.
All Things Wise and Wonderful, All Creatures Great and Small, All Things something something. The Lord God made them all. Anyway, but they collected his best stories about him being a vet to dogs into one book called Dog Stories.
Is that why you only cry when dogs die?
If I ever find a copy of James Herriot's Dog Stories in a thrift store, I buy it on the spot so I can give it to people.
I'm your most literary friend. You ain't giving me a copy of it.
You don't like short stories.
I'm learning.
We'll get you there. But yeah, James Herriot's Dog Stories. That's my pick. Everything else, I can't think of anything. You were like, really? Just then, you were like, oh, okay, that's kind of... Yeah. I love that. I'll read anything.
Yeah.
That's the thing I've read the most that's most likely that people would encounter me reading and being like, oh?
Here, my answer is the only thing I could think of that people might be like, what? Other than apparently my sports biographies, but...
Oh, that makes sense. I know you want to...
Or, or the basketball book that Bill Simmons wrote. But no, my answer... The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan.
Okay. I read that. It's good.
Love this book.
I didn't read it because of you, but I've read that.
No, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into too deep why it is,
but
I read it for one of my classes in college.
We're pretty short in this list, and we're already far longer time than I thought we'd be. No,
it's
not
amazing.
a problem. Not a problem at all of it.
So good.
Yeah, no, that is good. Amy Tan, I want to read more of her stuff.
Do you know she's in a band?
I didn't.
With Stephen King and other authors?
Whoa. All right, I cannot even begin to process that. But remember the first episode we did where we talked about the future library?
Yeah.
I think Amy Tan would be a good invite for that.
Oh, you're right. That would be amazing.
And I think here's my prediction. If we had to money on the barrelhead someone who gets picked to be in that.
It would be her?
Well, now it probably would be her. But no, there's a Chinese author that I can't remember his name and I can't remember the book he wrote, but he wrote a sci-fi book that it's super popular, and I think they just made it into a movie that starred no one Chinese. But I bet you he gets it. I know I'm not going to tell anybody anything.
Yeah.
That was super vague, but I really feel like he's going to make the future library. God, I wish I could remember. I want to say they just made this movie. I don't want to get my phone out and start looking shit up, but it's something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a Chinese guy who wrote a sci-fi novel. It's great.
Amy Tan. No, this isn't your thing, but Stephen King and her doing music.
Well, there's a
my professor. Shout out to Professor Dr. Harris Fang.
Yeah,
he showed us that in his class.
There's there's like a bunch of like crime writers. I think they get together and play poker together. I think. Anyway,
see, we need to become published just so we can hang out with these cool people.
Oh, dude, my dream is to get on the con circuit.
Yeah,
I want
a panel with Patrick Rothfuss.
I desperately want to be at DragonCon on the writing track with Michael Stackpole.
I desperately want to be there so that I can become disillusioned with Patrick Rothfuss.
Fair.
Because I know it would happen, but I don't care because he is a god to me, and I'll ignore all other things.
Yeah. All right, Derek, who's your literary hero?
Okay, well.
All right, so let's.
Are you throwing this at me again?
No.
Okay.
So we had this discussion a time or two. All right. So the next two questions are: who's your literary hero and who's your literary crush?
Oh, right. Yeah.
To make this clear, your literary hero is the writer you're most in love with, and your literary crush is the character you're most in love with. So, Derek, who is your literary hero?
Patrick Rothfuss, hands down. There's no discussion about this. The reason being, he is perfect. I mean, perfect is an exaggeration.
Well, he's not, but
yeah, obviously. But because there's been no siege in this book yet. But
man, I can't think of one. Nothing comes to
but
mind.
the point is, he's everything I want out of an author. It's amazing characterization. Mm-hmm. It's word poetry in his prose.
Yeah.
It's the only thing he says he's not very good about his plotting. I don't entirely agree with him. There might be not set end point, but the way it weaves together is what I'm talking about when I say plotting.
I am going to withhold judgment
until you see the third book.
We've had this conversation. I don't
want to yell at you.
I have big questions about the third book, but no, I will agree. Everything you said. He is the best fantasy writer ever.
I think so.
Ever. Now, I will say that he has stood tall on the shoulders of giants, but I think he does there's just something about Tolkien. I'm just going to be like I know you haven't read, but
maybe that's the thing I should go. Maybe I should do it for the blog.
You should. No, that's totally what you should do.
Yeah.
You should definitely we should do a bonus. I'll reread it. You read it
for the first time.
You read it for the first time. I'll read it as a reread. Yeah, because I'll read it at your pace, kind of deal. Like, you tell me where you're at, and I'll read to that. Okay. Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah.
There's just something about it. But, yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, Rothfuss is amazing. I didn't choose him, but
I thought you were going to throw at me, again, that we're not allowed to use Sanderson or Rothfuss, and I was going to throw something at you.
I actually think now that this podcast is probably going to air before when I say that.
Oh, well, that makes this even funnier.
Right. But no.
Guys, just wait until
this is different. This is different because this is where we're talking about our
love.
Our loves. Yeah. So my literary hero, it's a tie.
Of course it is. Can I guess?
Yeah.
Cook and Sanderson.
No.
Okay, well, lay it on me then.
Sanderson was right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sanderson and Stackpole.
Shoot, I should have known that.
Yeah.
You've literally said those exact words to me before, and I somehow blanked.
Cook would be on there. I'm not. I'll say this. Cook really it could be a three-way tie. I love the Black Company. I love the Garrett P.I. series. Really and truly, Cook. Honestly, Cook kind of writes.
He's kind of what you want to be.
But I'll say this.
Stackpole, I think low end what you want to be. Sanderson is high end what you want to be, in my opinion.
Oh no! Here's the difference. Cook writes two series that are eerily similar to what I want to write.
Right.
Okay. Sanderson, I don't love Sanderson's series like I love Cook's series.
Yeah.
but I recognize his productivity and how good he is at it.
How inventive he is.
He churns stuff out. He makes great magic systems. Love it. I love it. Stackpole, for him, it's like he's wildly prolific, which I like. I never really want to get into the world of writing like novelizations or writing books for like World of Warcraft but hey, if it pays the bills, whatever.
His Star Wars books are baller.
Yeah. I think he killed Chewbacca. If I remember correctly,
so.
He killed Chewbacca.
But he also gave us...
He was ordered to. He didn't do that on his own accord. He was ordered to kill Chewbacca.
He did also give us the Rogue Squadron first series, and I love that series.
By all accounts, I haven't read them, but he wrote the best BattleTech novels.
I think I read one of them.
From what I've read. But anyway, but Stackpole, what I really like about him, he does the con... on the con circuit...
Right.
He teaches classes on the concert, which I would love to do. Mm-hmm. I would love. My dream is like when he retires from that, I want to take his spot.
You still have not seen the lectures from Sanderson, have you?
I've seen what you've showed me of them. I know I need to.
Bob,
I do. I know.
No, this is not a.
I know. We'll move on. I know. Moving on. All right. So the next question is, who's your literary crush? And so it's my turn to answer. I could not pick someone. And this is something that caused me to really... This threw into sharp focus how fantasy has
not catered to you directly.
It hasn't. But fantasy, it is male-dominated as authors. There are some really great... let's be real. There's some really great female authors.
Don't bring that Robin Hobb. Bring that.
No, Robin Hobb is great. Well, that's the thing. Like that's the thing. There's fundamentally zero difference between a male and a female author. If you're good, you're fucking good.
Thank you.
All right. But the industry is dominated by men. It just is.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is, and this caused me to come on the side of it's kind of bad. Because here's the thing. It is really hard for a woman to write a good man, and it's really hard for a man to write a good woman. It's by no means impossible. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying men write better men, women write better women. Okay?
Yeah.
And
I will accept this premise.
Yeah. And that's not to say that, look, Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice.
I'm not even arguing.
Yeah, did a killer job. No. All right.
I mean, I think it's ridiculous to try and argue that fact.
Yeah, but I've read a ton of genre fiction, and they're just I think, especially because of Harry Potter, and I have no real evidence to back this up, but just my anecdotal evidence. I really feel like back in the day, your target market was dudes. All right, you were writing to dudes, and now the market is much more open. There are a lot more women reading fantasy in our generation than our parents' generation. I cannot pitch you a number, but I just feel like that's the way it is because
the way modern culture has gone, especially when it comes to movies and stuff like that.
Like in our friends, I'm not going to name last names, but the only female that immediately comes to mind that loves genre fiction like we love it is Faye. Oh, Lindsay, and Faye. But even to our degree, I would say Faye.
Well, in our defense, we're ridiculous.
Right, but that's the thing. That's the thing, though. But that's the thing is, if you are a fantasy sci-fi writer, you're writing to the ridiculous folks because the ridiculous folks will buy every one of your books. All right,
well, yeah.
They'll be the ones. They will be the ones who stick with your series to the end. All right. So, what I've come to realize is, in all the stuff I've read, there's a real dearth. There are. And I'll realize that part of it is I haven't read in trying to answer this question, I did a search of strong female characters in fantasy.
Okay.
And there are series, and a lot of the series I hadn't read.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the stuff I've read, I had a hard time answering this. And none of them, like every one of them had good attributes. And again, this is writing to me. This is my
I was
crush.
about to say, because I know...
I've never had a female crush in fantasy.
Well, I've never had a crush on any actual character in anything.
I'll be
Except
real.
for Lan, because he is the man I wish I was.
But I do have 4 people. All right. If gun to my head, I had to pick somebody, the lady from Black Company.
I would like to point out that I feel like some of the reason for this is it's just like you have to keep in mind that one step below adult science fiction is YA, which is dominated by female protagonists and main characters and stuff like that. So I feel like if you read more of that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. My thing is like Katniss, Hunger Games.
No, I'm not saying she's a good character. I'm just saying
that's the thing. Like the YA I've read, the female protagonists were
not good.
Not good.
I'm not saying they were good. I'm just saying it's.
Have I ever told you that my theory that Hunger Games is Twilight for dudes?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear it again, but not right now. Yeah. So moving on. Okay.
But no, like so. All right. So, anyways, gun to my head, the lady gets it.
Okay.
She is strikingly gorgeous. She's assertive. She knows what she wants. She eventually comes around to being romantic. There's that whole she's kind of evil thing. That's a catch.
I'm aware
that she is kind of evil. The 3 runners up for different reasons. Magda from Grunts,
because
she's great, and I don't want to be hung up on looks, but she's a halfling.
And you like?
I do like
ladies.
tall. My ex-wife is 6 foot tall, so I do like tall women.
Shout out to Tanya.
Shout out to Tanya. Irulan from Dune. That's who Paul ends up marrying for political reasons.
God, I need to read that book too.
Yeah, it's great. You started it though.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was really good. I just got to where they got stuck in the desert.
Irulan. So here's why I like Irulan. She accepts this political marriage because she knows it's what she needs to do, and she knows.
Learn to love.
It's not that. No, she would have been all in on Paul.
Oh.
Paul already was in love with Chani.
Okay.
And so Paul was like, I'm going to marry you because you are the daughter of the emperor.
Right.
But you will have nothing from me. I'm with Chani. Irulan, I don't know that she would have been like madly in love with him, but Irulan becomes a historian. Irulan's like, she makes a bet. Like, that's the thing, is like, Irulan realized what hand she'd been dealt. And I really have a lot of respect for Irulan. And I keep thinking about how she looks in the old Dune movie, the Dino De Laurentiis. She was pretty hot in that.
I don't.
Anyway, and then the last is Brienne of Tarth,
which is, if you had read those books, might be. Well,
I've read the first 2 of those books.
Neither of us have read those books.
I've read the first 2.
That's right, you've read those, so I take that back.
I read the first 2.
That could have been.
But I don't. If Brienne of Tarth shows up, I don't recall her because you got to keep in mind.
You read them when they came.
I read them when they came out, which was
1892.
Yeah. But Brienne of Tarth, from what I've read about her, she's described as very tall, very badass, but a little plain. And like that's the thing. Like I'm not hung up on like beauty, but I do like tall women. Yeah. And she is awesome and very, very seemingly self-assured in herself.
Pretty awesome. I haven't read the books, but the show, she's awesome.
As they say, confidence is a stain you can't wipe off.
They say that? Okay, I'll take your word for that.
And Drop the World.
Okay. Oh, God.
Yeah, confidence is a stain you can't wipe off. Okay. But no, so, I don't know. All of my crushes have huge flaws. And, I mean, that adds realism. But, like, the thing about it was, like, honestly, like, the lady would get my gun ahead. My outside choice would be Jorg from the Broken Empire trilogy. And the chick he marries, whose name I can't remember, I'd be the meat in that sandwich. Because he's a psychopath, but she evens him out.
Oh, okay. And I was gonna say, are we gonna go the full distance with like, well, I have a man crush on this character. Are we doing that? Or
I only have a man crush on Jorg when he's married.
Combined. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Like I would be the meat in that sandwich.
Okay. So, for me, for the literary crush, depending on my mood, we'll say it's either Fella from the King Killer Chronicles.
Yeah.
Or Fail. I don't know exactly how you say it, but that's the way they say it.
From Wheel of Time.
From the Wheel of Time. Now, Fella in King Killer Chronicles is because she's described as beautiful with dark hair, and she's just super nice and awesome. I like that. I like dark hair. I like the fact that she's gorgeous. And she's fucking nice.
Yeah. Like, none of the people I listed are nice. And, I like nice people.
Yeah. But I think the answer I'm going with is Fail.
Yeah.
And here's why. So, if you haven't read it, her description is...
Spoiler, don't read it. It's Wheel of Time.
I'm going to physically throw you out of my house.
Fair.
She's shorter. I like short girls. She's dark-haired. Like dark hair. She has a pronounced nose. Like girls with pronounced noses. She dances. I'm all for that.
But you don't dance.
No,
but you don't
she
have a
would
pronounced
dance.
nose.
No, but I like women that do. I don't know why. It's just something I've discovered. It's not like...
You know what? Weird aside. I've always liked the description of a nose as a high aquiline nose.
Okay, whatever.
I've always liked that description.
But
and I think they use that description in Dune, talking about the Atreides. They have high aquiline noses.
Well, yeah, but she physically, with the exception of she didn't wear glasses. She is literally every check mark that I have for a woman.
Yeah.
Then, personality-wise, she's fiercely loyal.
Yeah.
Like, scarily so.
Yeah.
Which I like, because I'm not very aggressive, so having someone that would, fight my battles for me when I'm not willing to would be awesome. But the problem that you run into in that series is that she's too fierce when it comes to forcing her love interest, Perrin, to do things.
Yeah.
He is too nice to her, and as much as I would be willing to put up with a lot, once it comes to a certain point, I'm not going to... I understand that you have... no. And he can't see that all she wants is someone to have a strong hand with her, which is a big problem for Bob in those series to begin with. But it's not that hard to notice that that's what she wants. So I would do that, which means she would be perfect for me. And I would love that.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's mine. So that's the literary crush. The next question is, what book out there do you wish you'd written? Wasn't entirely sure how to approach this.
Okay.
So the direction I went with is I chose a series of books that I loved the idea of, but didn't love the execution of.
Which was?
The Incarnations of Immortality by Piers Anthony, I think it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Which, love the Xanth series, where I just mentioned that, where you mentioned it earlier, and I was like, I hate that I didn't bring that up, because I really did love the Xanth series when I was in high school.
But Incarnations of Immortality, amazing.
I read 4 of the 6, I think. Probably...
I think there's more than 6, actually, because he kept coming out with them.
Did he? I know he... I don't know.
I think there was 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm not going into that, but I was in grad school, so it was within the past... no, it was right after grad school. I read them, so it was within the past 4 years or so that I read all of them.
But I love those ideas.
4 that I read.
But I love the world that he kind of shoved them in. But
No. When you start reading it, the world that he sets up is not really the world that it's like. It is, but when he starts out in that series, from what I recall of it, it's it doesn't really show a lot of that world.
That's what I was going to say. It's too surface. There's nothing... the idea that he sets up in the first book is there's magic and technology in it. Yeah. And I'm cool, all for that. And then I don't know how to describe my problem with the series other than there's just not enough depth to it.
They are very short reads. And that's something just a big picture issue. Fantasy sci-fi used to be much shorter than it is now. If you look, if you go into a second-hand bookstore,
that's another.
Well, no, it's just something to observe. Is that was.
I have very strong opinions on that.
I wonder how different
if
that series would be if he wrote that series now. Second off, it's a series that involves time travel. It's the only series that involves time travel that I've read more than one book in. And I'm pouring you a drink if you can hear this. I apologize, but I don't. But I needed more booze.
Yep.
So we're gonna have an L. Gotta mix it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
let's turn it up, man.
I would be interested to see if he were to write that now.
How it would be different. But that's my answer. Is that I think the idea, and if you don't understand, don't know what the series is, it's people having like godly positions.
People assuming
the role,
the position of death, time, war,
nature,
Mother Nature,
fate.
Fate?
Mm-hmm. Fate. Tangled Scheme.
Oh.
And then Green Mother.
Yeah, Green Mother.
But fantastic idea. Like, for example, the first book is called On a Pale Horse. The main character is so distraught with his life, he's going to kill himself.
You want to read the better version of that? Read Dirty Job by Christopher Moore.
Can I finish?
Yes.
I'm good. But no, the books are really good. I think that the ideas were just a lot better than the execution. And not to say the execution was really bad. It was just, you could have done a lot more with it, and it would have been awesome. I feel like it could have been. I don't know. That
real talk. Read Dirty Job by Christopher Moore. It's a guy becomes death. It's great. Christopher Moore is
Dirty Job.
A dirty job. Like, it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
Uh-huh.
Christopher Moore is Chuck Palahniuk if he wrote about supernatural things, like vampires.
Okay.
All right, so what book out there do I wish I'd written? This is one of the few things I only had one answer for. Dune. First off, it's
why? What direction do you come at this from?
Two. I come at it 2 directions. Well, really 3 directions. One
is I assume you just love it.
Direction 1 I come at, it's the greatest sci-fi book of all time. Mm-hmm. If I could just have written the greatest book in a genre of all time, fuck me. That's the dream. Like, your legacy is set. All right?
I think you'd get some pushback on whether or not that's the greatest sci-fi novel, though.
Name one better.
I'm not saying me. I'm saying
I would challenge people to name one better.
There's probably people that think like the Forever War or like the. I'm not saying you would say that. I'm just saying some people would.
No, Joe Haldeman's good. Forever War. No.
What there was one.
Honestly, Foundation.
That's what I was trying to remember.
I don't know. It's not.
I couldn't remember the name of this.
It's
not in your opinion, but some people might say it is.
They're wrong though. That's the thing. They're wrong. Anyway, so direction 1 to take it is it's the greatest sci-fi book of all time. Even if there is some few minor, tiny, bitter people that disagree, the majority of people agree that, like most lists, it's going to top. It's going to be in the top 3, all right, of pretty much any sci-fi list. 2, I had the most fun growing up playing real-time strategy games, and the Dune games were always great.
There were Dune games?
Yes, there were. They were great. Real-time strategy games. They were amazing.
Okay.
But the other where I'm really going with this is, as great as Dune is, when we did the episode where we asked, like, what book are you most conflicted about, I could have picked this.
Because of the sequels?
Yeah. The second book, Children of Dune, great. Not as great as Dune, but it is really good. And then every book after that gets progressively worse. And now his son and some other dude have written like 8 million books. And I've read a couple of them and they're pretty good, but it's like, fuck me. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to read a bunch of books that Frank Herbert didn't read.
Right.
Yeah, right. Well, he didn't read them either. He's dead as fuck. But quick aside, other Derek went to college and his teacher either learned from Frank Herbert or was good friends with Frank Herbert. I can't remember. I think he learned from
He's got a lot of stories about where he went to college.
Yeah. But anyway, so Dune, I would like to have written Dune so I could write the rest of the books to where they weren't shit. All right. So, D, name the last book that made you laugh. Oh, do I have an answer first? Fuck. At this point, I'm pretty drunk. Name the last book that made you laugh and the last book that made me cry. All right. The last book that made me laugh, the honorable mention goes to Wormwood, Gentleman Corpse. It's a series Ben Templesmith does. He's a great artist. I love his art, and he created this. It's quirky. It's weird. It makes me laugh. I really enjoy it. Check it out. The book is 3 Moments of an Explosion. It's a short story collection. China Millville. There's a story in there called shit.
Not the one that you want me to read.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
no, there's a moment.
Well, remember, you can't tell me.
No, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you're going to read it. It's desperate. It's called Desperate Outcome, I think. Mm-hmm. And there's a moment in that book where I just busted out laughing. Anyway, cry. First off, if a dog doesn't die, I don't cry. And I haven't read anything where a dog dies in a long time. So we're going to say like Where the Red Fern Grows or Old Yeller.
But something that got
Sounder.
you emotional, like you really felt
but
it.
I'll say this. The only book that I can ever recall that made me like tear up a little bit, I can't remember the name of it. I know the author was Morgan Llewellyn. Llewellyn. I don't know how you pronounce her last name. But she wrote a book either about Cuchulainn or Finn McCool. She writes a bunch of like Irish fictional history kind of stuff. And the last scene of that book is, all I can remember is there was a white deer and the guy's dying and yada yada yada. It caused me to mess up a little bit. Anyway, so the last book that had me feel emotion where I was like, oh damn. Slow regard to sound of things.
Of course.
It was, dude. The cog. Man, I'm not going to talk about it. The cog. The dramatic scene with the cog. I was dramatic to myself over that one.
There are parts of that book that hit me hard, but it was not that part.
Oh, that part, man. I have never cared about an inanimate object.
Cared more about Fox in the very beginning of the
I've
book.
never cared more about an inanimate object than in that book.
I still don't get that. We can talk about that off air.
Yeah.
But my thing in that one, the thing that I cared about, or that got me closest, was when she, not what happened to the cog, but what was happening before she turned the cog.
Yeah.
That made me very
This is going to make so much sense to all of you
that have actually read this. If you actually read it, you'll understand.
Yeah,
it's a novella. It's really good. So read it.
Yeah. If you've read Kink, don't read it unless you've read the Kink Killer books.
At least both. I think both books. One.
Read both.
Read both.
Read both. Then go read Slow Regard of Sound of Things,
which is a great name of a book, by the way.
It is. Oh, it's great.
It's almost like this guy has a way with words.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, Derek, what's the last book that made you laugh and the last book that made you cry?
The last book that made me laugh was The Aeronaut's Windlass by Jim Butcher. Yes, exactly. Because of the cat. There is a character in the book. One of the main characters is a cat. One of the viewpoint characters is a cat.
Did you listen to the audiobook of that?
I did.
The voice actor of the cat is so good. Like, it's one of those, like, I'm normally all in on, like, no, I want to read the book. I don't want to hear the audiobook. I honestly feel the audiobook of that book is better than reading it.
I need to do both because I like to hear it, but when it comes to authors that I love, I need to see it because I need to digest the prose. Which is why I like to do
having read a bunch of Jim Butcher at this point.
Yeah. I can get that. I'm not super impressed with the prose.
You're not reading Jim Butcher for the prose.
Right.
You're
which is why
Jim Butcher for the plot.
Which is that's why I got the audiobook of it.
Yeah.
But
you don't need to read that. You've heard the best. You've heard it better than you.
The thing is, that book, by the way, The Aeronaut's Windlass, is really high up there in my favorite book. Like there's nothing remarkable about it other than the fact that it's very good, very solid, and there's something about the setting that I just love.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But anyways,
I have a weird obsession with towers.
Yeah.
Which the spires are towers. So
but
I get that.
the one of the point of view characters at some point is a cat. And it's glorious. It thinks like a cat, and it's amazing to be in a cat's head. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So that's what made me laugh. The most recent thing that made me cry, up until it was Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance, which you have not read.
No.
It's a memoir about a guy who grew up in, I can't remember where, but grew up in like a hillbilly kind of place, and it's him talking about his family.
Okay.
And just, I highly suggest it. It's
okay.
very, very good, but it's sad. It's basically, it's something that talks about how much class plays into how people live, grow up and live their life. And it's about him being from a place that is very bad, and like having uncles and people that just like kill people. It's exceptional, but there was really sad points. Okay. But that was until I read A Tiny Feast by Chris Adrian, and that's the most recent thing that made me cry. And that was
Tiny Feast.
Yeah. That was a tough one. Yeah. That was, I mean,
no, it's so good though.
It didn't like lay me out for long periods of time like A Lie in April did, but it hit me hard once, and I was like, "Ooh, yeesh."
All right.
Yeah. Now, after the next question is, what is your most important rule of writing? The most important writing rule that I have is show, don't tell. And it is a thing that I have told many, many people for a long, long time. Now, a lot of authors will tell you things, and I do think there's a place for that. However, to kind of like expedite things, but I feel like people don't show what's happening enough sometimes, and it is far, 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 far more interesting to be shown the actions of a character than to just be told they did a thing.
Now, and I don't agree that that's the most important rule. I would say that is the second most important rule.
Yeah.
And I think the problem that people have is...
But it said your, and that's the thing I've harped on for years.
Ironically, I think the biggest problem with that rule is you have to show people, not tell them that rule. You have to actually show them, like, here's what you wrote. Here's how you write it to show them. And
even that people don't pick it up, because I tried to do that.
It takes a long time, dude.
It
really does.
Old Leper.
It doesn't.
Forever.
It doesn't. It doesn't really click. It doesn't click. He eventually got it though.
Yeah, he did.
But my rule is you just have to fucking write. You just have to.
I'm gonna spring something on you now. Yeah. Other than that, because that's obvious. What is your other rule of writing? Like, what is the thing that you feel most strongly about, other than if you're not doing it, then you're not going to get better?
I mean, honestly, like, there is no other rule. Really and truly. Like, you have to, or I guess the real rule is, take it seriously. Mm-hmm. Do you want to be a writer? You have to take it seriously. Whatever that means for you. Like, that can, like, after a certain point, it evolves from, you just have to write, to you just have to seriously consider your craft. So the real rule is not, the real rule for everyone going into it is you just have to write.
Yeah.
But the real rule is you have to take it seriously. And like, so starting out, like, you just have to fucking write. But then after a certain point, it's like, all right, you have to think about more than just the plot. You know? And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, well, I've got to start working on the characterization, the this, the that, and the editing. Like, but at the end of the day,
well, those thoughts come, like, you edit those things in.
At the end of the day, though, number one rule is if you are not writing consistently, every other rule is bullshit. Mm-hmm. You can, if you have mastered show don't tell, but you never finish a project.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Who cares?
Does not matter flying fuck. That's the thing. Like, if you will just get out there and you will write, if you will finish a story, and then fix it in post. You know, fix it later. Get it on paper. Once the story is done, you've checked off a check mark in the victory column. Then go back and sit there like, oh, I finished this thing. How can I make it better?
We've had many discussions about this.
Yeah, many.
Let's just move on.
So the number one rule is you just have to fucking write. Like they say, it takes 1,000,000 words to get good. And I know that's very arbitrary, but there's a lot
10,000 hours kind of thing.
There's a lot of truth to it. And like I'm sitting at this point like probably over 700,000 words. And I don't think I'm there, but I really feel I'm a lot closer than when I was 100,000 words into it. And so like you just have, if you are serious about becoming a writer, you just have to fucking write.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what book has changed your life? I can answer this one first. The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah.
That would explain your God complex.
Fair.
No, I don't know what it's about. I've never even heard of it.
God, I can't. Richard Bachman wrote it. He also wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Which
you don't have to tell me what it's about. Just why.
Read it. I'll let you borrow it. There's no explanation. Like it.
I feel actually now that I'm thinking about it, I think we've discussed it before.
It's.
I want to say we have, but
it's basically.
Is this one of them that you only have one answer for?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no debate on this one.
Didn't know that. I mean, okay.
There was no debate. It was Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the core. If there's a core message, is you create your own reality.
Yeah, we've discussed this. Yeah.
Yeah. Done.
Okay. I had two.
Yeah.
One, we'll start at a little bit more serious. I've had depression issues over the years, and one of the things that has helped me the most is the idea that you have to kind of accept your responsibility for your life. And one thing that really helped me with that was I read a book, or listened to an audiobook, called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. They're former Navy SEALs that tell stories about leadership concepts and how the idea of accepting ownership of everything you do allows you to become a better person. And if you don't do it, you're kind of hamstringing yourself. So that was really, really important for me, was understanding that kind of concept, and that helped a lot. But in a more fantasy kind of thing, the thing that changed my life was Magician by Raymond E. Feist. That was the book that grabbed me. Like that was the one I had been trying to find something that would grab me because I wanted to get into fantasy because my brother read it, and that's the one that was like, gotcha.
Yeah.
So and I say Magician because Magician was originally one book and he split it into two, but yeah, Magician.
Cool. Okay.
That's my jam.
Yeah. All right, so this has been our Clinton questions, as we're calling them. We probably won't call them this in the blog. I will post these questions in the blog. Please comment your answers in the comment section. Definitely want to hear them. I know that there are tons of books that we're missing on this list. So please just let us know, what are we missing? And as usual, even though this is a bonus episode, go forth and grow a great beard.